George Washington is a name that is synonymous with the birth of the United States of America. Born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, he was the first President of the United States, serving from 1789 to 1797. Washington is widely considered to be one of the most important figures in American history, not only for his role in the Revolutionary War, but also for his contributions to the formation of the American government. Washington's early life was marked by tragedy and hardship. His father died when he was just 11 years old, leaving him to be raised by his mother and older half-brother. Despite his lack of formal education, Washington proved to be a talented surveyor and farmer. He worked on his family's plantation until he was 16, when he began working as a surveyor for the Virginia government. In 1752, Washington's half-brother Lawrence died, leaving him with the family's estate, Mount Vernon. Washington became a successful planter and businessman, with Mount Vernon eventually becoming one of the largest and most profitable plantations in Virginia. He married Martha Dandridge Custis, a wealthy widow, in 1759, and they would go on to have no children of their own, but Washington would raise Martha's children from her previous marriage. In 1754, Washington was sent by the governor of Virginia to lead a small force against the French in the Ohio Valley. This was the beginning of what would become the French and Indian War, and Washington quickly proved himself to be a capable military leader. He would go on to fight in several more battles during the war, but his experiences also taught him the importance of diplomacy and the need for a strong central government to coordinate military efforts. After the war, Washington became involved in politics, serving in the Virginia House of Burgesses and as a delegate to the Continental Congress. In 1775, he was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, tasked with leading the American forces in the Revolutionary War against Great Britain. This was a daunting task, as the American forces were poorly trained and equipped, and faced a powerful and well-trained British army. Despite these challenges, Washington proved to be an inspiring and effective leader. He led his troops through several major battles, including the battles of Trenton, Saratoga, and Yorktown, and was able to secure crucial foreign support from France. His leadership was instrumental in the American victory in the Revolutionary War, and he emerged from the war as a national hero. After the war, Washington could have seized power and become a dictator, as was the case in many other countries at the time. However, he chose instead to retire to his estate at Mount Vernon, a decision that cemented his reputation as a humble and selfless leader. His decision also set the precedent for peaceful transfers of power between presidents, which has been a cornerstone of American democracy ever since. In 1787, Washington was elected as the presiding officer of the Constitutional Convention, which was tasked with drafting a new constitution for the United States. His leadership was crucial in the drafting of the document, which established the framework for the American government that still exists today. Washington was also a strong advocate for the ratification of the Constitution, which was a contentious issue at the time. In 1789, Washington was unanimously elected as the first President of the United States. He served 2 terms in office, during which he established many of the traditions and norms that have since become integral to the American presidency. He established the cabinet system, with secretaries for different departments such as State, Treasury, and War, and he also created the first national bank. He set precedents for the role of the president as commander-in-chief of the military and for the peaceful transfer of power between presidents. One of the most notable events during Washington's presidency was the Whiskey Rebellion in 1794. This was a protest by farmers in Pennsylvania against a tax on whiskey, and it was the first major test of the federal government's ability to enforce its laws. Washington personally led a force of 13,000 soldiers to suppress the rebellion, demonstrating the strength and authority of the federal government. Washington's presidency was also marked by foreign policy challenges, including tensions with Britain and France. Washington sought to maintain American neutrality in the conflicts between these 2 European powers, and he issued the Proclamation of Neutrality in 1793 to make this policy clear. He also negotiated a treaty with Spain in 1795, which secured American access to the Mississippi River and New Orleans. In 1796, Washington announced his intention to retire from the presidency, setting another precedent for the peaceful transfer of power. In his farewell address, he urged Americans to remain united and to avoid the dangers of political parties and foreign entanglements. He also emphasized the importance of education and morality in maintaining a free and democratic society. Today, George Washington is remembered as one of the most important figures in American history. He played a critical role in the birth of the United States, first as a military leader in the Revolutionary War and then as the first president of the new nation. His leadership, wisdom, and integrity continue to inspire Americans of all ages and backgrounds, and his legacy as a selfless and dedicated public servant is a shining example of what it means to be a great leader.